Should we play some chess? Okay. Wifey says play some chess. Okay, I'm out of practice. We'll give it a shot. If wifey's watching, I gotta try way harder. Let's do 10 minutes just for shits and giggles. I have a provisional rating. Okay, who does this? Ugh. What a weird fucking opening. Has anybody ever seen that? D4, D5? Kind of crazy. Let's see. Fianchetto? Gotta take your time. Okay. A little cringe, a little cringe. Okay, really cringe. Can't do much to my king side there. This game is basically over. This is like Trump Kamala. Okay. I do want to defend this pawn. Take, take. I actually like taking on c3, as crazy as it looks. But yeah, fine. I mean, no reason not to get aggressive. You could actually give back the exchange too. You actually have to worry about queen d8 if you do that. Okay, this is again like a little bit like, what are you even doing? Bishop d3 coming? Yeah, I'm totally fine with bishop d3. Watch I get mated. Okay, okay, we could do that. Um, so f5 holds this, right? Let's just triple check. When you're up so much material, there's no point not thinking about it at all. In not thinking about it. Yeah, where's the popular vote? Looking good there. Yeah, okay, so f5 is probably the only move, but it's pretty good. Hard to deny f5. Okay. Um, right. Okay. I can actually take here, right? Or should I just take here? Yeah, this is much better. He's got to resign now. Come on, man. Isn't that what Joe Biden says? Come on, man. Right, right, right. Okay. Um, well, I suppose this might work better. Right, right. Okay, good. I like your energy. Not sure where that rook is going, but let's see. Well, When is MSNBC going to come to grips?
California very proudly and with no compunction whatsoever takes weeks to count.
Yeah, they're just like, you'll wait.
You'll wait, and it'll be really important for the country, but we'll get to it when we get to it. And they've done it that way for years in many cycles, and there's no fighting with them about it. Right now, at this hour, I understand that there are roughly 2 Democratic flips, meaning seats that were held by Republicans that are now held by Democrats, and roughly 4 Republican flips, seats that were held by Democrats that will in the future be held by Republicans. And so we'll look at some of those details, and we'll try to keep an eye on, look at all the uncalled races. There's tons of them here. But with a Republican-controlled Senate and with the sort of vibe check that we're getting from the 2 presidential campaigns, control of the House, as you mentioned, Chris, could become one of the most important things in the country.
And, you know, let's go back to control of the Senate for a moment. It's only control of the Senate for 2 years. And in the next 2 years, the Democrats will have the advantage in the Senate campaign that the Republicans had this time, which is to say more Republicans will be defending incumbent seats against Democrat. More Republican seats will be exposed to being flipped. And so it is a 2-year hold by the Republicans as of now. And you know that starting sometime tomorrow, Chuck Schumer is going to be working on how to get that back in 2 years.
There is, you mentioned the judges, which is such an important generational piece of this. But in that 2 years, there's also the confirmation of nominees. And if it's Kamala Harris sitting in the White House, it's going to become extremely difficult to get nominees through.
Let alone judges.
Let alone judge. It's true. It's the flip side. If Trump is in the White House, some of these nominees, and this might be, we don't know where things will be, an interesting thing to watch, might be very easy to get through, or maybe people...
We're at positive 105. I think the most we can go here is positive... let's see. Positive... I don't know, it's going to be like positive 110 when all's said and done. Hope you guys made some money with me. Okay, so this is getting interesting. After this, he has to move the... Well, he can move his king. He's gonna actually make me win, even though I'm up a whole rook. Kind of annoying. Okay, so what's next? How about just move the passed pawn? Like, force him to have a strategy. Okay, not much to do with that. He also has left the back rank open. So not much to do with the back rank exactly, but it's always a little uncomfortable. I mean, not sure what he's really thinking here. I will promote. Okay. Don't know why that was the move. But knock yourself out. I'm not missing anything.
Trump is currently up in Pennsylvania. If he wins Pennsylvania, he would be the next president of the United States. The House, we're not going to know for weeks, but it's possible. that Donald Trump and the Republicans will have a trifecta, as they did in 2016. In which case, the bulwark, against whatever overreach there could be, and whatever those depredations might be, and I think you're going to have a tendency to overreach if they do, is the kind of thing that's democracy between elections, which is the work of civil society, it's the work of the fourth estate, it's the work of institutions, it's the work of citizens. All that's super important stuff. We've seen it before.
Yeah.
Donald Trump won an election in 2016. He got a Republican House. He got a Republican Senate. They were all fired up, and they were going to repeal Obamacare, and they tried twice, and it didn't work. There was a lot of things they wanted to do, and they didn't work because basically of the other parts of what American democratic culture is. And that was an important and meaningful lesson for the vibrancy of the American democratic experiment. And there's been lots of tests of and threats.
This is called the Sicilian Wing Gambit. It's an anti-Sicilian. I really like to play it. My old coach taught me it. I still like to play it. It takes you out of all the normal Sicilian lines like the Nijdorf and the Dragon and all that stuff. So I like it. I don't remember what to do in this line, but it could be take, force the tempo, c3, d4. What's up, Ziz? I'm just gonna get out of this provisional rating status after I win this game. Assuming I win this game. Back to my normal overrated Lichess. The bishop is the juicer. No. Hikaru is like so funny, man. He wants to be a good investor, chess player. He's the number 2 chess player in the world. Poker, etc. This guy has taken a minute to play his first 3 moves. That's why I like this opening. Nevada's too close to call, but Nevada's come in with a ton of votes. Trump's ahead of Nevada too. This is so ugly. Let's throw in the towel. Throw in the towel, damn it. Damn, New York Times telling the truth. Good for New York Times. The New York Times calling the race too? That'd be pretty cool. Okay, this move's a little funky. It's probably too aggressive to play f4, but this is a very aggressive opening anyway, so fuck it. Okay. Bishop d3 is pretty important here. It's one of the key themes of this bizarre opening. Notice the big hole in d6 is very paralyzing if I can get to it. So knight a3, knight b5, knight d6 is the idea there. Yeah, I'll just start bishop d3. Hikaru's investing skills, he's pretty good. I think Hikaru's... if I'm... Let me guess. So I'm not Hikaru in investing. I'll say that. But let's say I'm a GM in investing, which I would say is true. Okay, he played a6. My knight is cooked. Knight can come here, though. Maybe he comes here, here. No, I don't leave him there for now. Just kidding. This is also one of these openings or castlings, really. Not the most critical thing in the world. All right, so we get a plan f5. Kind of like knight g5. The c-pawn's always weak in this opening. So defending the c-pawn is probably a good idea. Queen c2 is maybe the way to do that. Usually, you know, well, the problem with queen c2 is it leaves very few squares left for this knight. This knight's a little confined. Okay, this is a serious threat. I don't want to trade my good bishop for this crummy knight, so I think I'm going to leave that there. But I do want to get... Yeah, it's tricky. I think I have to protect the c-pawn. Stop any shenanigans. I have a lot of space. I have the d6 hole, which is, dare I say, gaping? Can I say that? I would say it's gaping. If I ever took on g6, the problem is h takes g6. There's also, okay, we have a move. Knight a5. Discovered attack on c3. Not sure where this knight's going. I kind of like rook b1. Then the knight has literally 0 squares. I'm not worried about knight b3, I guess. So who cares about that? So maybe I'll bring my knight. Yeah, maybe I'll bring my knight to d2. Now his position is kind of not great. Now let's say he... I guess maybe I should stay on a3, because if he does move knight c4, I really don't want him on c4. So maybe rook b1 is fine. I don't know. I hate limiting the mobility of the pieces. This knight isn't really doing anything, so I do think maybe we should move him. The great old chess lesson is look at your most unproductive piece and try to make it do something. I wonder if I want to play for the c4 break at some point. Can I do it now? c4 takes. c4 might work. Fuck it. Fortune favors the bold. What's the threat behind c4? I mean, opening up... I can't... I mean, I guess I could, you know, c takes is one threat. c5 is even more exotic, but probably not a good move. I think just take. Trump's up by 4.8 million votes. This is a very tenuous, delicate situation. I don't want to hang anything either. It's like a spider web that can... Everything could fall apart. It's like the Alekian defense. See? See what I mean? I think I'm fine. In fact, I kind of have moved my bishop to a great square here. So it takes, pawn takes, So he wins a pawn theoretically here, but I mean his good bishop is gone. That's not what I would have wanted if I was him. Is he going to convert to a passed pawn? I don't think that'll serve him well. Now my road is clear for d6 again. I'd gladly lose this pawn. Okay, he takes with that. He is actually technically in a discovered problem here. So he can't check me. So I actually think this is the move. Okay. Mistakes are made. Mistakes are made. He still can't move this knight. And if I take, and he takes back with the B pawn, I think I can hold this pretty easily. I still have that 5 break too, which is kind of pretty brutal. This is one of those moves that, what's the Alpha Star recommends? Like, you throw a pawn away in chess. It's very misunderstood that like opening files is worth more sometimes than having pawns. It took Google's DeepMind thing to figure that out. Same thing has happened in poker, where like poker solvers determine that the low suited connectors are overvalued. Do I drink Raki? Of course. Who called? Did they call PA? Okay.
Ever done that?
He can briefly pretend to be. He'll talk. You know, he will sometimes talk about things like Unity, or they'll try to keep him on Unity in a prompter speech for like a few sentences.
Yeah. I'm not expecting a lot of
I'm not expecting that. I'm not expecting that. I'm just preparing people. There are these sort of brief glimmers of when his handlers have sort of puffed him up enough where he does that. He may just, riff about 1980s movies. Well, I mean, you really never know.
Or sharks?
Alex.
I feel like there's an aspect to all of this. It's 1:30, almost 1:30 in the morning here, and some people are going to go to sleep. Not us, of course. But in Western Europe and in the UK and in the Middle East, people are waking up to this.
Oh, and they are.
And I'm thinking the people who are going to wake up to Donald Trump's remarks tonight are people like Emmanuel Macron and Vladimir Zelensky and the people of Poland and people in Gaza and people in Tel Aviv and
I've already gotten texts from Ghana and South Africa.
And I've gotten people from Western Europe who are extraordinarily alarmed and terrified about, as a friend of a friend said, maps being redrawn in Western Europe if Donald Trump is president. I mean, we think about the implications of all of this in terms of domestic politics, but the world is at a hinge point. And, this is very much an election about the global world order. And I think we shouldn't forget, like, as we are kind of trying to think about how to
Trump's going to win every swing state,
grapple with all of this, there's another side of the world that's waking up to this and is trying to figure out what this may mean, not just for America, but for them.
May I reiterate, there are 2 of the 7 swing states that have been called by NBC News right now, which is Georgia and North Carolina. None of the other 5 states have been called at this point. You can see this is the battleground.
This reminds me of
Casavo. Pennsylvania,
the
Michigan,
denial.
and Wisconsin, the so-called blue wall. None of those states called by NBC News. Neither has Nevada nor Arizona. What has been called is Senate control, and of course we can read the campaigns in terms of what they are saying without saying anything yet. Yeah.
And it's 8:25 a.m. in Kyiv, where people they wake up earlier than that, and they are very worried as they look at where this election stands at this hour.
And you've seen, there was a whole sort of conflagration over whether the Harris campaign would embrace the uncommitted movement, which actually wanted to move in her direction at the convention. And the question was whether they should allow a speaker to happen and whether there should be meetings, whether she should go to Dearborn and try to engage the Arab and Muslim community. You did see one of the co-founders of Uncommitted, actually on Andrea Mitchell's show here on our network, support Vice President Harris in the end, the member, the state senator in Georgia, who was going to be the speaker had they allowed it to happen, also endorsed and supported her. But the irony is you did have Tiffany Trump's husband, who's Lebanese American, and others go in and try to really push Arab and Muslim American voters. Stephen Miller was crowing about it, to try to push Arab and Muslim voters in the state of Michigan to go for Trump. The irony of that, of course, is nobody wanted Donald Trump to be president. Nobody wants Donald Trump to be president more than Bibi Netanyahu, who is backed by a far-right coalition that would like to clear-cut Gaza, that would, would truly like to complete ethnic cleansing of Gaza. And so the consequences, ironically, for those, Mark Lamont Hill, who's been a staunch supporter of the Palestinian rights movement, came out in favor of Harris as well. And so I think, we don't know that this would be the case, but I think that's one of the interesting questions, is that the outcome for people in Gaza and in Lebanon, if Trump were to become president, would be absolutely devastating. It would be everything Bibi Netanyahu has wanted to do for 30 years, not just in Gaza, but in the West Bank and in Lebanon. And so I think for people who care about that issue and who that was their voting issue, it would be highly ironic if the outcome, it was literally to make it far worse than the Biden administration has made it.
And to Alex's point about the sort of reckoning that's happening, or at least just sort of like thinking through the possibilities, right, that are happening. Obviously, there's like intelligence apparatuses in all these places. There's briefing apparatuses in all these places. Like, there are a lot of conversations happening right now. There are going to be a lot of conversations happening right now, whichever way the night went, and whatever the indications were at this hour. But those conversations are happening in a lot of very different places at an incredibly high level, with enormous stakes at play in both the Middle East and in Europe.
One of the things that's going to happen if this goes the way that if we follow this train of thought, is that intelligence sharing between America and our traditional allies is likely going to end. The whole Five Eyes thing is likely going to end. If you've got America switching sides in the Ukraine-Russia war to instead support Russia, or to become neutral, which would mean in this case to support the aggressor, to support Russia. If you've got ongoing secret communications eaten out of government between the Republican nominee and the person who funded his campaign and led his ground game, right? Both of whom are communicating with the Russian government without reporting that information to the U.S. government. And on top of that, you've got reporting from the New York Times that they're considering, once there is a second Trump administration, if it happens, to stop performing background checks before giving people security clearance, meaning giving classified information to anyone. That's supposedly at the instigation of a Trump campaign official who was born in Moscow, who was unable to get a security clearance in the first Trump term, who has had multiple arrests and is currently under indictment, and who has reportedly been put at the top of a short list to be White House counsel. And he is the one who has proposed getting rid of all background checks for security clearances, which means handing out classified information on the corner. You are not going to have American allies who have been relying on us as the pinnacle intelligence agency in the world since World War II. You are not going to have continued sharing of information with a new administration that has an open line with Vladimir Putin. And that is going to essentially be willing to handle classified information the way the man who was indicted for handling it the way he did at Mar-a-Lago at the top, and with handling security clearances the way they've purportedly described. It's just going to be, that's something that'll happen.
It's a different world.
That will happen during the transition. That's not something that happens in January. And if we're at that level, if that's the kind of transformation that's happening in terms of America on the world stage, the idea of there being a part of the U.S. government that is still in Democratic Party hands becomes a very interesting thing in terms of the stability of the world, right? Yeah. Because it puts Donald Trump in the position, if the House is controlled by Democrats, puts him in the position of having to decide whether he's going to do what other autocrats have done, which is to essentially eliminate the function of the legislature. All right, that's one of the things they do, from Orban to Putin to everybody else. You have a Potemkin legislature that's not allowed to actually do anything, and you do that when your opponents still have some foothold there. But that's just going to push those questions right to the very front, very fast. And I, for one, am glad to have a little breathing room before we get there.
And the other piece, if Stephanie was here, she would also say that you think about the U.S. bond market, you think about the way that the U.S. is sort of a reserve